In the world of geopolitics, things can get pretty complicated. For a while there, it really seemed like Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin were on the same page. Trump even called himself the messenger of peace, said he could end the war in Ukraine. So, what changed? How did we go from talking peace to staring down a potential nuclear standoff? Well, it all kicked off with one pretty startling order. Just like that, the guy asking for a Nobel Peace Prize is ordering nuclear submarines into position. But here's the twist. His anger wasn't aimed at Vladimir Putin. Nope. This huge move was a direct shot back at another powerful Russian leader, a guy whose comments Trump found so offensive, he was willing to raise the stakes for the entire world. So what gives? What could possibly have been said to make a president who built his entire brand on ending wars suddenly risk starting a new one? We're going to dig into the real trigger behind this incredibly high-stakes move. Okay, so this whole thing started with a war of words. Long before any submarines were on the move, there was this very public, very pointed back and forth. And it began with a direct challenge to Trump. And there it is. That's the statement that lit the fuse. Dmitry Medvedev, a top official in Russia, basically came out and said, hey, Russia isn't like other countries you've dealt with. Every threat you make to us, well, that's a threat to your own country. It's like he was using Trump's own playbook, right back at him, jab for jab. And you bet Trump's allies fired right back. Senator Lindsey Graham jumped in almost immediately, warning Russia not to test Trump. This tells you it wasn't just some off-the-cuff tweet. It was a coordinated message. The lines were being drawn right out in the open for everyone to see. So you have to be wondering, who is this Dmitry Medvedev guy, and why do his words carry so much weight that they could spark this kind of reaction? To get that, you really have to understand his unique place in Russia's power structure. I mean, look at the resume. He's been president, he's been prime minister, and now he's got a top security job. But honestly, those titles don't even tell half the story. Medvedev's real influence comes from this deep, decades-long political partnership he has with Vladimir Putin. This timeline really shows you how tangled up their careers are. When Putin was blocked by term limits, guess who stepped in? Medvedev. And crucially, while he was president, the rules got changed. Longer terms, unlimited terms. And what do you know, as soon as that's done, Putin slides right back into the presidency. It was this perfectly executed power swap to keep them both right at the heart of Russian politics. So all of this gives Medvedev a very specific job. He's essentially Putin's mouthpiece. Putin gets to stay above the fray, looking all presidential, while Medvedev can jump into these public fights. He can test the waters with aggressive statements, fire off warnings, and speak that language of direct confrontation, a language that someone like Trump definitely understands. He's got Putin's authority, but with Trump's rhetorical style. And this is where the war of words turned into something much more serious. In response to what Medvedev said, Trump didn't just fire back with another threat. He moved a very powerful piece on the global chessboard. Now, to really grasp how big a deal this is, you got to understand a key difference here. The sub Trump sent was nuclear-powered. That means its engine, its reactor, lets it stay underwater and totally hidden for months on end. It's a ghost. So the threat isn't just about the weapons it might have, it's about its ability to sneak into position completely undetected. And this is no one-sided fight. Look at these numbers. The US has 71 subs. Russia has 64. They are very, very close competitors when it comes to what's lurking beneath the waves. Russia isn't a country you can just push around with naval power. Both sides have this immense hidden strength. So that brings us to the billion-dollar question. Was this for real? Were we actually watching two nuclear-armed powers slide towards a real conflict? Or was all of this high-stakes military drama just a show, designed to hide something else? A lot of analysts are pointing to that second option. They believe this whole international crisis might just be a classic political play, a big, noisy smokescreen meant to draw everyone's attention away from a growing list of problems Trump was facing right here at home. Think about it. The whole messenger of peace thing was starting to get mocked. His approval numbers were slipping. And his big tariff policies were making a lot of people nervous about the economy, even some of his own supporters. The pressure was definitely building. And then came the hard data. The U.S. unemployment rate started to creep up, hitting 4.2%. For any president, that's a problem. But for one who built his entire brand on a strong economy, that number is a huge political liability. And his reaction to the bad news was pretty telling. The jobs report comes out with these numbers he doesn't like, and what happens? He fires the person who delivered them. That's a move that really signals a leader who is feeling the heat from a tough economic reality. On top of that, those tariff policies were scaring investors. The stock market took a dive, wiping out an estimated $1.1 trillion in value. People were getting really worried about a trade war. That's a massive number. So when the headlines at home are all about jobs and a shaky market, a crisis abroad can be a very powerful distraction. It's straight out of the political playbook. Change the national conversation. Shift it away from a struggling economy and toward a bold display of military power. All of a sudden, nobody's talking about stocks, they're talking about submarines. And that leaves us right here with the final and most critical question. Was this a clever political stunt, a calculated move to distract from problems at home, or was it a genuinely reckless gamble, playing games with global security just for political points? And maybe the most important question of all is, where exactly is the line between the two?